Welcome to East Meets West, and we're here again on another program with Dr. Indira Couch from Trinidad. And my friend Indy here is the expert on employee engagement. And today, we're going to talk about employee engagement, also with the background from The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. We do have the Live to Lead conference coming up, and Patrick Lencioni is one of the keynote speaker at this event. So we're talking a little bit about what these 5 dysfunctions of a team might be showing up in your team, and a little how you can, maybe mediate among these 5 dysfunctions, things that maybe you can start doing to help. And I'm sure as we discuss this, you're going to see some of these things are actually playing out in your teams. And so, Dr. Couch, thank you very much for giving us some time today and to share on your expert knowledge on this topic here. And I know you've worked with many companies in Trinidad and other countries actually, and how you have worked with their team to build engagement. And maybe just share a little bit about your experience with that, and then we can talk about these dysfunctions that you might be seeing playing out also in some of these teams. Welcome.
Okay, wonderful. Well, so first of all, thank you so much for having me, Shanti. And please, it's Indy, right? Dr. Couch, don't worry with it, okay? It's Indy. We're just having a conversation about it. I'm really happy to be here. And I'm so thrilled to hear that you have Patrick Lencioni as one of your guest speakers, because Patrick Lencioni has been, for me, one of the major influencers, certainly in how I have risen to become the number one. Well, so far I'm kind of battling between 1 and 3, but I was number 1 employee engagement, leadership and culture coach with Engage and Grow for over about 18 months. And Patrick Lencioni was a major part of that journey, because when I read his book, which is The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and I began to follow him and I bought all his workbooks. And then I came upon Engage and Grow, which is, the global community of which I am a part, that I realized how it all came together from his work, with the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And so a lot of what I've been doing, I would say in the last 5 years, really, is when I became an Engage and Grow coach, has been around creating and sustaining high-performing leaders and teams. And a lot of what I do, as much as I do one-on-one executive coaching, my real love is in what we call the group activation process, which is when a leader works very closely with their teams to be able to, create and sustain high-performing teams. Patrick Lencioni speaks a lot about the 5 dysfunctions. I don't want to give it all away, because I think you guys are going to be blown away by not just the way he speaks. He's extremely engaging. He's very entertaining. But I would strongly urge you all to even just take a look at the book. By the way, it's even on YouTube. It's like he gives it away. There's a lot of stuff there, but I'm sure he's going to have really great content to share, because he's always developing. But the foundation of the 5 dysfunctions of a team, it's about what we call the absence of trust, because trust is the foundation of all relationships. And, based on various studies around the world, Shanti, if I were to ask you what makes people the happiest, what would you say?
I think enjoying what they're doing.
That's for sure.
Something that is there. And to be valued in what they're doing, that people appreciate it and show that appreciation too.
Yeah. Well, that's, of course, it's in the top 5, but the number 1 thing that makes people the happiest is multiple and meaningful relationships. And think about it, Shanti. 100% of our customers are people. 100% of our teams are people.
Yep.
If we don't understand people, we don't understand relationships, forget about it. We don't lead sales department, we don't lead companies, we lead people. So relationships are critical to our success as leaders and as team players.
Yep.
And so if one of the things, in fact, high-performing teams say many things about why they're high-performing, but one of the most important things they say is that they all have good, solid relationships. I mean, you think of any relationship that you have where it's poor, you can't communicate, you have to tiptoe around the person, you're afraid to say certain things. Think of any relationship where it's broken. In any organization, it doesn't work seamlessly. It doesn't work. It's not fluid. It's not agile.
Yep.
Right? So again, I don't want to give it away, but the absence of trust is a critical and seriously and most significantly important part of creating and sustaining high-performing leaders and teams. Yeah?
Yep.
I
Indeed.
don't know if you want to talk a little bit about trust, because trust is a really interesting.
Indeed. And I think, you know, people have to know you and like you. And we think of, you know, they're saying that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so if you don't demonstrate that care too, they would not develop trust in you. Because if you don't demonstrate those traits that you're also a human being, that you're not perfect, you know, there's story behind you as a leader. So when you're among a team, being vulnerable to show them that, you know, you have made mistakes, you have you know, come through a path in life too, that you understand what they're going through, so that they can also believe in you, trust in you too, that you know what they are also going through in a sense. But indeed, when you talk about relationships, how can we function if I cannot trust you? You know, if I would have to always look over my back, we are doing, whether it's a project or we're working on the same team on something, and I can't depend on you to get your stuff done. So I don't trust you that you're going to do it properly. All of these area, I could think about how it can break that relationship. And if, as you said, the foundation is there, if we don't start there, you know, foundation is about, if it's not solid, it can be broken.
Right. So I want to answer your question in two parts. So one of the things about trust is actually there are two types of trust, and Patrick Lencioni speaks about this a lot. So again, I don't want to give it all away, but just in a nutshell, it's what he calls predictive trust, and the other one is vulnerability-based trust. So predictive trust is just like what you said. You promise to get something done, or you commit to getting something done, you get it done. And that type of trust is built over time. Yeah. The second one, which is actually more important, is vulnerability-based trust, which means that you're allowing yourself to be a bit vulnerable, to say, wow, Shanti, you did that so much better than me. Or that if you're giving a presentation, you're talking about something, you're saying, you know, I did this because Shanti helped me to do it. So you allow yourself, yes, you want to look good, and yes, but you know, I did this together as a team. I didn't do this alone. This is a team event. Or, oh my God, I made a mistake. My bad. I'm so sorry, Shanti. I let you down, but I'm going to make good on it. So allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, but that we are making a commitment to being better. Right? So that is it, you know, the two parts of trust. But there's another part. So the second part of the question of trust. So people ask me this all the time. And yes, you are doing all that you need to do. So let's say it's you and me. And I am, you know, creating a relationship. So knowing you, liking you, and trust you. However, there's a very important part. If I have trust issues, I need to be aware of how the trust, my lack of trust, just because I have an innate lack of trust, is getting in the way of how I see everything in front of me.
Definitely.
You know, Ernest Hemingway has a very famous saying, in order to trust, you have to trust, right? And so if I know I have low trust, because this is where self-awareness is so important on this journey. As you know, it all starts with self-awareness. And, you know, the most successful people in the world, they have a very high sense of self-awareness, right? So self-awareness, if you know that you have trust issues, then no matter what somebody else is doing, you're still going to have that little niggly trust. So that awareness of letting go of that and allowing yourself to trust, which is a fear, of course, because a lot of people have these fears for whatever reason. Something may have happened to them and they just hurt so much, they just don't want to ever let it happen again. But how are we going to move forward as leaders if we are allowing this trust to get in the way of being able to trust others, specifically other customers, team members, all of the people around us?
Indeed, you know, I am honestly just thinking of everything that you've just said there. You know, some of us may have gone through some real terrible experience with people, and you know, even from young age, you might have been burned by something that happened, and this wall that was built as you kept getting older and older, it becomes something that is now affecting you in your performance because, as you said, it's people we're working with is 100% humans, and if you can't trust them, how are you going to be able to build, right? And I always remember John Maxwell saying that one is too small of a number to achieve greatness, and so you can't do it alone. So you got to be able to trust someone. And just to say this also is that you know, when Indy said that you have to let go, that part of it, many people prefer to hold on to whatever they think, as in, I don't want to get hurt again. I don't want to go through this again. But
Yeah.
then you're gonna stay here. And so I want to just say that, you know, let go. Yes, you're gonna get hurt again. I can tell you that part, that you're gonna get hurt again, but you're also going to learn a lot and you're going to grow. So if you stay here, there's no growth, but letting go and expose yourself again. And that's where I think magic starts happening for you individually and then as a team too.
Yeah. I think a lot of that exploration starts with when you face your fears. You know, what are your fears? You're afraid of what people are going to think about you. You're going to lose approval from people. You're going to be taken advantage of. What is it? How you're going to look? How you're going to look? Oh my God, things are going to be so uncertain. You know, what are those fears? Facing those fears and saying, this fear is getting in the way of my success. And as you and I know, we've been on this journey a while, that false fear, false expectation appearing real, we don't know. It's just a thing we think is going to happen, but we don't really know. Yeah. And if we can face the fears, we can break through, or we can just go back to our little comfort zone and say, you know what, I'll just stay here. It's fine. I'll just be okay here. I don't need to go. I don't need to change. I'll just be okay. And then possibly, of course, remain in that unhappy state, right? And I know we're kind of digressing a little bit, Shanti, but only to say that this journey does start with us, each of us. The change starts with me,
Yes.
right? And knowing that as a leader, if I want a leader in any relationship, what do I need to do to modify and adapt my behavior to create a win-win relationship?
Yes. And I love that you shed a light there, because sometimes we think about it's only about the people in front of we, not, you know, examining deep within us. It's really might be we who unable to let go, who's unable to trust someone because of something in you. And so because you shed the light there is, I do believe that we need to do some introspection there as to why are you not able to trust people, and how can you, and sometimes maybe you need someone to help you through that, to think it through and get to the point of that realization, you know what, I am now moving forward with my team here because I don't really trust them. And I am the one who's having some trust issue here. And how do I work on me? Right. And so I do love that you talk from this angle here. And indeed the part of how we can be able to see beyond, start learning to trust again, or else you're not going to get any more experience in your life. And I'm sure those experience also taught you a lot of things during those years of whatever might have happened and mold you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, we just keep moving forward. I was talking to a colleague yesterday and I was saying to her, I don't know if you know the story of Colonel Sanders, the KFC Colonel Sanders, but he did not come into success until he was 69 years old. He just kept going, and he tried this and he tried that and he tried this and he did it and he failed and he kept, got back on the horse and he kept going until he found this, and that's what happened and worked. And I said to her, a lot of us have these fixed equations about how life should look and what we should do, and all of these things about what things should look like. And there's no fixed equation. And it really boils down to us being able to figure out, what do we want? What makes us happy without, again, there's a lot of what other people are doing. But what is it that really makes us truly happy? And what do we need to do to get out of our own way?
Yep.
And that is why the journey always comes right back to us. It starts with me. It starts with me really reflecting, thinking, what are the behaviors that are getting in the way of my success? Is this really what I want? Or am I just doing this because society tells me I need to do it this way? Or my friends are doing it, so I need to do it? Or, so what is it that really brings me happiness? Yeah.
Exactly. So I know we talk a lot about trust there because that's the foundation. And if there isn't a solid foundation, every other area that you're working on would not, withstand. And so I know that we're moving along with some time here, but maybe briefly we can touch on the other 4 areas of conflict and commitment and accountability results.
Sure. So what happens with the fear of trust? If you think about it, Shanti, if you have the absence of trust, sorry, not the fear of trust, the absence of trust. If you think about, if you don't have trust with someone, then it makes it really difficult for you to kind of call out what I say unproductive behaviors, because you're afraid of having conflict. Yeah. So let's say, for example, you have a team and people are afraid of, because there's no trust, or there's a lack of trust, or there's broken trust. People are doing things that are not supporting the team. They may be really only concerned about themselves, and it's always about me. So they put their agendas, which is what we call personal agendas. Mm-hmm. They put their personal agendas ahead of the team agenda. Now, as a leader, as a team player, we want to be able to build the trust, to be able to say, hey, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you're doing this, this is how it lands. This is how it comes across. And we're working towards a team agenda here. And how it's coming across is that you're sounding like you're just concerned about yourself, and us being able to communicate skillfully as leaders, building the trust, but being able to not feel fearful about having conflict. Now, whenever we use this word conflict, and whenever I do these sessions with people and they hear conflict, they get a bit like, because of course the word conflict is something people run away from. Some people don't mind having healthy conflict, right? And we want to create we say healthy conflict, but it's being able to, and I think the word conflict is something that people often stay away from, because really what conflict comes down to is how it's managed. That's really the thing about conflict. It's how we see things. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Yeah. And Is conflict negative? Is it bad? No, we want to have healthy debates. In fact, when I see teams that don't have healthy debates or that they're not questioning or challenging each other, to me, that's a sign of a weak team culture. You have to be able to challenge each other. You have to be able to have a good, but we're not taking things personally because we're challenging. We want to get it. We want to break through and find a really great result.
I think
So,
you said the word there, not to take things personally, because this is exactly what happens when someone throw an idea out and someone question it, is that person takes it personally that they're being attacked, and it's not the idea is here is what we are putting on the light to see how can we make it even better. Are you understanding what you're talking about? And maybe even helping the person who's questioning it. But then because you took it so personally that you start getting affected by that, and next time you might not even share no idea because of taking it personally.
well, that is why it is a leader's responsibility to influence engagement, right? So the leader of the group or the team has to encourage a healthy debate and has to get people to say, guys, I want us to challenge each other. This is not about anybody taking anything personally. I want us to challenge each other. Of course, we want to communicate skillfully. We're not going to point at people and blame them or whatever. We're mindful about how we communicate, right? But we want to have that healthy debate. So please, guys, challenge me. You remember, it starts with you, us as leaders.
Yeah.
Challenge me. If I say something, it doesn't have to be this way. Challenge me as to how I could be wrong, right? So you begin to create and allow your teams to challenge you.
Yep.
Allow your teams to say, well, can we try it this way?
Mhm.
And we say, all right, let's try it this way. Allow them to take a little bit of risk, right? Allow them to feel, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to try it this way. So let's see how this will work. Okay. And, again, the fear of conflict has, again, it is our responsibility as leaders to influence engagement and to influence alignment. We cause alignment as leaders. So this absence of trust, which then leads to, if we don't have the trust, we're going to have the fear of conflict. Then we, as leaders, have to create that environment to allow people to feel safe, that they can feel that they can be themselves in their best and their worst moments. We want them to have that kind of, when there's no judgment, that be yourself, but know that it's a safe place. Take a little bit of risk. It's okay. We're not judging. And we have to be really aware of suspending our judgment as well as leaders, because we tend to make judgments of people. So, look, Shanti, it's as you know, this journey is a continuous and never ending, and it's a process of understanding our triggers, understanding who we are, who are the persons we need to become, how do we modify and adapt our behaviors to support our teams and all of the relationships that or the people that we lead. So, but the fear of conflict is one that, again, just to bring it back, it's really how conflict is managed and the perception of conflict, so that it's perceived as healthy.
So,
And that teams can feel that they can disagree about something, that they feel safe to disagree, but knowing that if the rest of the team says we're going to do this, that person says, you know what, I disagree, but I commit to the result.
Yep. And one key aspect too, I think, is listening, because sometimes we don't listen to understand. And that's where you might end up having some conflict too, because you just didn't listen enough to understand where that person was coming from. So as we move into a commitment, what are your thoughts there?
Well, again, it starts with trust. So you have absence of trust, fear of conflict. So you don't feel you want to be able to, then commitment, then, then people feel more and more disengaged. So you can see it by the lack of commitment they have to the details to really delivering more than is expected. Yeah. And that's how you see it. Those are the observable behaviors. You will see those things happen.
Yep. So when I think of commitment to, as you spoke about, is that involving people in the decision making. And if people don't feel part of it too, then, it's going to be all about you. So, then saying also yes to things and then don't do it. What is your commitment, not only as a leader, but all the team members, them? How
Yeah.
committed are you? Are you, involved also in the decision making of whatever the project, however that is? That you also open up, as you said, creating this space that people can be involved in the decision making, that you value their opinion, that you are open to hearing what they also say, and that they're committed to go do it.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And then of course that feeds into the avoidance of accountability. So they don't, take ownership, accountability, and responsibility for their results. So there'll be blame, excuses.
Yep.
It was me, it was this one, it was that. And we know how, how toxic that can be. And we hear I hear people when I work with leaders and I ask them, tell me some of the things that you're observing in your organization. They say, well, missed deadlines, health and safety breaches, we're not making target, we're not at our results. These are the things we know directly as an engagement expert. When I hear all of these things, I know attrition, people leaving, leaders feeling or team members feeling more so than leaders, but team members feeling that people are autocratic and dismissive, they're not feeling valued, there's no recognition going on. We know that that's disengagement. So again, the avoidance of response of accountability is a major indicator of disengagement as well, and active disengagement.
And so I would add that, each person on that team, opening to hold each other accountable and just not leaving it up to the leader's job to, oh, it's their job alone, but together, how are we holding each other accountable? How we, stand up in a respectful way against mediocrity, and that you're taking the action and initiative of what is needed to be done and get it done. So as a team player too, each one of us play a role here in holding each other accountable and to seeing things get done and done properly too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course that leads to the inattention to results.
Yep.
So inaccuracies, not keeping our eyes focused on the big picture. So it's what, when I speak to teams and I listen to them, I listen to the leaders of teams and I hear what they're telling me. All of these things are indicators of disengagement and active disengagement. What we want to do is we want to create high performing teams and leaders and teams. And how we know that we have that is when we have what we call active engagement, which is when people are doing more than is expected. So they are looking for opportunity, they're coming up with ideas, they're solution oriented, they are taking ownership, accountability, and result and ownership, accountability, and responsibility for their results, whether they're good, whether they're bad. They're holding each other accountable. So there's peer accountability, and that they have trust and open communication.
Yep.
So that, to me, in a nutshell, tells me that's when if I hear those things, I kind of know that is where you have more actively engaged teams. If you don't have that, or you have some of it or not all of your teams, then you have some work to do.
Yep. So, these are, I think, very much present in many teams that I have also passed through and seen. But indeed, I think it's on us that we want to change. Starting with that as an individual, how am I showing up in all these areas? And so you being an example, whether you're leading the team or you're just a team player on that team, how are you lining up to these 5 areas and how you're showing up? Because your example also can help the others to see that this is how our team is supposed to function. We need to build trust. We can have some nice, healthy conflict and debate on some things. Not everything have to go the leader's way. There are going to be better ways even than what is being presented. Be open for that. Your commitment to whatever you said you're going to do, that you're part of the decision making. You're allowing people also to be part of that, and then holding people accountable, holding each other accountable. And so the results too, it's not about you alone, about the entire team. And you move on from there. And so, Indy, I really appreciate your time as we talk about these dysfunctions that are there. I say in all the teams I'm right now that I've seen, and it's a choice to work on them. It's been highlighted today what's there, but it's a choice. Let's start working on here. This is what needs to change, and change starts with you.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to hearing Patrick at the Live to Lead that you're bringing to Guyana. So looking forward to hearing what he has to say, because he's extremely engaging and, like I said, very entertaining. So it's going to be fantastic. So
Yes.
looking forward to that, Shanti. All right.
Thank you so much for your time.
By the way, for the Lead to Live to what is the date?
It's October 29th. And so I'm going to share a link in this live here, and so that people can actually click on the link and you can register. So look out for the link. It's October 29th at the Convention Center. And I am looking forward to an exciting day of learning and interacting, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. Awesome. Okay, Shanti, well, great. I'm going to be joining probably virtually, but I'm not going to.
You could come together and join us live.
Who knows? Maybe I'll be there as well. Exactly. All right. So take care. Have a great one.
Thank you. And so guys, do share this video to anyone that you think that can benefit from it. Comment, also add your piece to it so that we can keep on adding value to everyone that is listening. And do look forward to also seeing you guys in the Live to Lead conference. Take